For many Australians, driving represents freedom. It's not just about getting from one place to another. It's about independence, connection, and being able to live life on your own terms. But as Australia's population ages, the debate about whether older drivers should face tougher medical and license renewal rules has returned to the spotlight. In recent months, news headlines, government discussions, and public opinions have all focused on one question. Should Australians over 60 be subject to stricter driving laws? And what exactly are the new changes everyone is talking about? This story affects millions of people, from seniors who've been driving for decades to their families who just want them safe on the road. It all began earlier this year when road safety experts started raising alarms about the growing number of accidents involving drivers above the age of 70. The numbers weren't massive, but they were enough to catch attention. What really pushed this issue forward were a few tragic crashes involving older motorists, which quickly turned into national talking points. Newspapers started calling for change. Advocacy groups began lobbying for stricter renewal rules. And soon, the government started reviewing how driving licenses are handled for older Australians. Suddenly, everyone was asking the same question. Should people over 60 have to prove they're still fit to drive every few years? Now, here's what's really happening. Contrary to some rumors spreading online, there is no nationwide law that forces all Australians over 60 to undergo new medical tests. But what has changed and continues to evolve are the rules within certain states and territories. Each region has its own system, its own thresholds, and its own approach to safety. For example, in Queensland, drivers aged 75 and over already need to carry a medical certificate that confirms they're fit to drive. If they don't have it, they can be fined or even lose their license. It's a rule that's been in place for years, but now it's being more strictly enforced. In New South Wales, the system is slightly different. Once drivers reach 75, they must undergo regular medical assessments to keep their licenses valid. And when they hit 85, things become even stricter. Drivers can either take a yearly practical driving test to prove they can still handle a vehicle safely, or they can opt for a modified license. A modified license means they can only drive within certain areas. For example, close to home, during daylight, or only in low-traffic conditions. It's a compromise that tries to balance independence and safety. Other states have their own versions of these rules. In Western Australia, once a driver turns 80, they must get an annual medical checkup. If their doctor thinks there's any concern about their driving ability, they might also need to take a practical driving test. In South Australia, the process starts with a self-assessment at age 75, where drivers must honestly evaluate their health and driving skills. And if they're 85 or older, a doctor's assessment may be required too. Victoria, interestingly, has been one of the more relaxed states when it comes to older drivers. There's currently no mandatory testing just for age, but that may soon change. After several high-profile crashes involving elderly drivers, public pressure is mounting. Policymakers are discussing whether Victoria should introduce medical checks similar to those in New South Wales or Queensland. Some experts say this isn't about taking freedom away from seniors. It's about keeping everyone safer, including them. But others argue that age alone shouldn't be a reason to restrict someone's right to drive. This is where the controversy really heats up. Many older Australians feel that these proposed changes are unfair and discriminatory. They argue that being 70 or 80 doesn't automatically mean you're unsafe behind the wheel. In fact, studies have shown that older drivers are often more careful, more respectful of speed limits, and less likely to take risks compared to younger drivers. The real issue, they say, isn't age, it's health. If someone is healthy, alert, and capable, they should be allowed to keep driving, just like anyone else. On the other hand, supporters of the new rules point to hard data. They highlight that age-related health problems like slower reaction times, vision impairment, arthritis, and cognitive decline can all affect driving performance. Even if these issues seem mild, they can become dangerous when combined with fast-moving traffic and unpredictable road conditions. Road safety groups argue that regular medical and vision tests could help identify these risks early and prevent tragedies before they happen. So, what do these new or proposed changes actually mean for drivers over 60? Essentially, they bring medical fitness to the center of license renewal. In some states, older drivers will need to present updated medical reports every year or every 2 years. These reports might include vision tests, mobility checks, and sometimes even cognitive screenings to ensure that the driver can still make quick, safe decisions on the road. For many, this won't be a problem at all. But for those with health conditions, it could mean restrictions or even losing their full license. Doctors also play a crucial role in this process. Under Australia's current system, medical professionals have a legal responsibility to report patients who may be unfit to drive due to health reasons. That means if someone's eyesight, reflexes, or mental alertness deteriorates, their doctor may recommend a restricted license or even suspension until the issue improves. It's a sensitive area because no one wants to lose their independence. But no doctor wants to be responsible for an avoidable accident either. For seniors who've spent their entire lives driving, the thought of giving it up can be devastating. Driving often means freedom. Being able to visit family, do groceries, attend appointments, or simply go for a drive along the coast. Losing that ability can lead to isolation, depression, and a loss of confidence. That's why authorities are trying to approach the issue with care. The goal isn't to punish older drivers, but to find a fair balance between safety and independence. Some new technology may also help make that balance easier. Advanced safety features in modern vehicles like automatic braking, lane keeping assist, and collision alerts are making it possible for older drivers to stay safer for longer. These tools can help compensate for slower reaction times or weaker vision. In fact, transport experts say encouraging older Australians to switch to newer, safer cars could make an even bigger difference than stricter testing alone. Public opinion, however, remains divided. Some families of elderly drivers support the changes, saying it gives them peace of mind, knowing their loved ones are still fit to drive. But others fear the rules will be applied too harshly, stripping capable drivers of their independence just because of a number on their birth certificate. Many Australians over 60 still work, volunteer, or care for grandchildren, and they rely heavily on their cars to do so. For them, driving isn't optional, it's essential. Let's take a real-world example. In Queensland, an elderly man named Harold has been driving for over 50 years. He's 78 now and still sharp as ever. Every year, he visits his doctor for a medical certificate, and every year, he passes easily. Harold says he doesn't mind the checks because they reassure both him and his family that he's safe. But not everyone feels the same way. Others see it as intrusive, costly, and unnecessary, especially if they've never had an accident. That's another factor many older drivers are talking about, the cost. Medical assessments aren't always free, and frequent renewals can become expensive over time. For those living on a pension or fixed income, even small fees can add up. Critics say that while road safety is important, governments should offer rebates or subsidies for older Australians required to undergo mandatory tests. After all, they argue, these citizens have paid taxes and contributed to society for decades. They shouldn't be financially punished for getting older. Transport authorities, on the other hand, argue that the benefits outweigh the inconvenience. They say regular assessments help prevent accidents, reduce insurance claims, and save lives. Not just for older drivers, but for everyone sharing the road. In fact, research suggests that most older drivers who lose their licenses due to medical issues were already struggling behind the wheel without realizing it. The tests, therefore, can act as a safety net, catching problems before they cause harm. There's also talk of introducing more flexible license options for older Australians. Instead of a full or no license situation, authorities are considering a tiered approach. This could include local licenses that only allow driving within a certain distance from home or daytime. Only licenses that restrict night driving when visibility is poor. These options would let seniors stay mobile while reducing risk factors associated with age-related decline. While these measures sound reasonable, they still stir strong emotions. Many Australians fear that the system could become too strict or bureaucratic, making it difficult for healthy seniors to keep their independence. Some advocacy groups for older citizens have even warned that an overly harsh approach could push more seniors into isolation, worsening health outcomes and mental well-being. They believe education and voluntary self-assessment could be more effective than mandatory testing. On the political front, the debate continues. Federal officials have largely left the issue to the states, but they're watching closely. If accident rates among elderly drivers increase, or if state rules become too inconsistent, we might see a push for a national framework in the future. This could mean standardized age thresholds, testing intervals, and medical reporting requirements across Australia. For now, though, it remains a state-by-state matter, which means the rules depend heavily on where you live. So what can Australians over 60 do to stay prepared? First, it's essential to keep up with regular health checks. Vision, reflexes, and alertness can change gradually, so it's best to monitor them early. Staying physically active, eating well, and getting enough sleep can all make a real difference to driving ability. Second, keep an eye on your local transport authority's website. They publish any new updates on license requirements. And third, if you ever feel unsure about your driving, talk to your doctor. They can provide honest advice about whether you might benefit from a refresher driving course or vehicle adjustments. In fact, refresher driving courses are becoming more popular among seniors. These short programs help older drivers adapt to new road rules, understand modern car features, and refresh safe driving habits. They're not just for people who've lost confidence. They're for anyone who wants to stay sharp behind the wheel. Some insurance companies even offer discounts to seniors who complete them. It's another example of how the focus is shifting from punishment to prevention. The bigger picture here is that Australia is getting older as a nation. By 2035, nearly 1 in 4 Australians will be over 65. That means more older drivers on the road than ever before. Policymakers are under pressure to prepare for that future. And that's why driving law changes for older Australians are being discussed more seriously now. The goal isn't to take away rights. It's to create a safer, fairer system for everyone. It's worth remembering that driving is a shared responsibility. Whether you're 25 or 85, safety depends on awareness, honesty, and respect for the road. Aging doesn't have to mean losing freedom, but it does mean being realistic about one's limits. Authorities hope that by encouraging medical awareness and honest conversations, older Australians can continue driving safely for as long as possible. Still, misinformation continues to spread online, with claims that from October or November 2025, all Australians over 60 will be forced to take annual driving tests. These claims are false. There is no nationwide law enforcing that rule. Instead, what's really happening is a tightening of enforcement in some states and ongoing reviews in others. For many drivers, nothing changes, at least not yet. But it's always smart to stay informed, because discussions today often become policies tomorrow. Looking ahead, experts believe the future of driving for seniors will depend not just on laws, but on technology. Self-driving cars, advanced navigation systems, and vehicle-to-vehicle communication could soon make roads safer for everyone, especially older adults. In fact, some car manufacturers are already designing vehicles with seniors in mind. Easier entry, clearer displays, and automated safety responses. It might sound futuristic, but these innovations could completely change what it means to stop driving. Until then, Australia's driving laws will continue evolving. The changes for over 60s are not about taking away independence, but ensuring that independence doesn't come at the cost of safety. For some, that might mean an extra doctor's visit or a shorter license renewal period. For others, it might mean a chance to prove they're still capable, confident drivers who've earned their place on the road. At the end of the day, Driving is more than just transportation. It's identity, freedom, and connection. For older Australians, these new driving law changes may feel like another reminder of time passing. But they're also a promise that every driver, no matter their age, will be treated with fairness and respect. The goal isn't to stop people from driving. It's to help them keep doing it safely for as long as possible. So if you or someone you love is over 60, don't panic about rumors or scary headlines. Check your local transport authority's website, talk to your doctor, and make sure you stay ahead of any real rule changes. Driving law updates aren't meant to take away what you love. They're meant to make sure you can enjoy it longer, safely, and confidently. And as this debate continues, one thing is clear. Australia's roads are changing, and so are the people driving on them. The journey towards safer driving for all generations is just beginning.